Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation at White Plains. We are happy you are here, no matter who you are, what you believe, where you are from, or how you came to us. We gather in the light of four truths. It's a blessing you were born. It matters what you do. Your experience of the divine is true, and an important reminder, you don't have to go it alone. If you are visiting us for the first time online this morning, good morning to you. Please take a moment to click the link in the chat and fill out the visitor form and let us know how you would like to be connected. If you're new and visiting in person, we invite you to stop by the welcome table and say hello. Later in the service, we will share joys and sorrows of our individual lives. For those here and in person, please take a moment to add yours to the book by the south windows. For those on Zoom, please type yours in the chat. Today, we have with us the Reverend Ashley DeTar Birt as our guest minister. Reverend DeTar Birt is the program manager for the New York Unitarian Universalist Justice and co-director for the Center of Jubilee Practice. She is an ordained minister in the Presbyterian Church of the United States, who obtained her Master's of Divinity from Union Theological Seminary, an MA in Theater Arts from the University of Pittsburgh, and a BA in Creative Writing from Carnegie Mellon University. She will also be with us after coffee hour today in a congregational forum in Fellowship Hall about the work of New York Unitarian Universalist Justice.
Good morning. As just mentioned, my name is Ashley DeTar Birt. My pronouns are she, hers, and I am the program director for New York Unitarian Universalist Justice. I'm excited to be here with all of you today, and I send welcome from the board of my organization. We know that you have supported us in the past, and we are very thankful for that. And if you are not familiar with NYUJ or want to know a little bit more, we'll be able to have some conversation after the service. Hear these opening words. Come into this place with your whole self. The parts that are raw and exposed, the part that is beaming with joy, the part that is seeking the truth, the new, the possibility. Come into this place, open your heart, lay down your burden, lift up your hope for something new to happen. Come into this place with fellow travelers on the journey, some faces new and others familiar, and all welcoming you here, now, to this moment. Come, let us worship together.
For our chalice lighting, please respond with the wording on the screen or in your order of service. Let us enter into the circle of energy and love. All are welcome here. We are an inclusive community of faith and kindness, memory and hope. All are welcome here. We are a community with a deep and abiding trust in the promise of goodness in every human heart and soul. All are welcome here. We are a community of quest, where we gather to study and search. All are welcome here. We are a community of service, where the gifts we give and receive are compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, and devotion. All are welcome here. We are a community of joy and laughter, where the worth of every individual is celebrated. All are welcome here. For the choir anthem today, we are singing Inspiration of Hope. And this statement is always read before this song. The Holocaust is a stunning reminder of the tragic results of prejudice and hate toward other people. But it is also a reminder that hope held firm will eventually reign victorious over the greatest of odds. The following words were inscribed on the walls of a cellar in Cologne, Germany, where Jews were hiding from the Nazis during World War II. Hope was all they had to hold on to. Hope was their only bridge to a brighter tomorrow.
No balls today, but that was fun. Do you ever worry that something that you do isn't good enough? Or have you ever had self-doubt? Do you ever fall into the trap of perfectionism? Yeah, me too. This story, Ish, by Peter Reynolds, resonated with me, and it might with you too. Ramon loved to draw. Anytime, anything, anywhere. One day, Ramon was drawing a vase of flowers. His brother Leon leaned over his shoulder. Leon burst out laughing. "What is that?" he asked. Ramon couldn't even answer. He just crumpled up the drawing and threw it across the room. Leon's laughter haunted Ramon. He kept trying to make his pictures look right, but they never were. After many months and many crumpled sheets of paper, Ramon was finally done. "I give up," he said. Marisol, his sister, was watching him. "What do you want?" he snapped. "I was watching you draw," she said. Ramon sneered. "I'm not drawing. Go away." Marisol ran away, but not before picking up one of the crumpled sheets of paper. "Hey, come back here with that," Ramon called, running after her, up the hall and into her room. He was about to yell when he fell silent. When he saw his sister's walls, he stared at the crumpled gallery. "This is one of my favorites," Marisol said, pointing. "That was supposed to be a vase of flowers, but it doesn't look like one," said Ramon. "Well, it looks vase-ish," she said. "Vase-ish?" asked Ramon. Then he studied all the drawings on the wall and began to see them in a whole new way. He began to draw what he felt. He was feeling light and energized. Thinking ishly allowed his ideas to flow freely. He began to draw what he felt, loose lines quickly springing out without worry. Ramon once again drew and drew the world around him. Making ish drawings felt wonderful. He filled his journals. Tree-ish, house-ish, boat-ish, afternoon-ish, fish-ish. Say that, fish-ish, sun-ish. Ramon realized he could draw his feelings too. Pokish, silly-ish, excited-ish. His ish art inspired ish writing. He wasn't sure if he was writing poems, but he knew they were poem-ish. Ponder, pond ponder, dream yonder, pond, yond, gleam wander, by Ramon. One spring morning, Ramon had a wonderful feeling. It was a feeling that even ish words and ish drawing could not capture. He decided not to capture it. Instead, he savored it. And Ramon lived ishly ever after.
Please join me in singing the children out to their RE program. May your mind be open to learning. May your lips tell truth up to the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice. As you go your way in peace, as you go your way in peace.
Let us join in a few moments of prayer and meditation. Yesterday was Holocaust Memorial Day, Remembrance Day. January 27th marks the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, the largest Nazi death camp. This year, the theme for Holocaust Memorial Day is the fragility of freedom. The Council of Christian and Jews, the leading nationwide forum for Christian and Jewish engagement, shares this prayer, to which I made a small revision to mark the day. Spirit of truth, we come before you, conscious of the fragility of freedom, to remember the victims of the Holocaust. We lament the loss of 6 million Jews who were killed in the Holocaust, the millions of other victims of Nazi persecution, and victims of all genocides. Remembering the past, help us today to use what freedom we have to stand up for those whose freedom is denied. We pray for a day when all shall be free to live in peace, unity, and love. I would like to add to their prayer. Let us remember that genocide does not begin with elimination. Let us remember that genocide begins with othering of populations that are deemed undesirable by a majority that is either numerical or a power majority. Let us remember that othering leads to dehumanization and to legislation which strips human rights from othered populations so that they can be legally oppressed and eventually extinguished. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called on us to recognize that a law that is enacted by a numerical or power majority that is not binding on that majority is inherently an unjust law. We ask the Spirit of truth to help us recognize the othering that is being perpetrated by legislative bodies in this country, the land of the free, in which bodily autonomy is being stripped from women and trans people. May we never rest while othering and persecution threatens innocent people. And we ask the Spirit of justice to help us today in reiterating the words of the Holocaust Memorial Prayer, to use what freedom we have to stand up for those whose freedom is denied.
I welcome you now into a moment of guided meditation. And so I invite you to either close your eyes or sort of look down and soften your gaze. And to take a breath in and let it out. Breath in and let it out. Breath in and let it out. And while your eyes are closed or your gaze is softened, I want you to take a moment to think of someone you truly care about, someone who brings you joy and delight, someone who makes you smile. And for a moment of silence, I want you to send good energy to that person. Just think about them and send them energy. Take another breath in and let it out. Now I invite you this time to think of someone maybe you don't like so much, someone you have a hard time understanding, someone who makes you frustrated or confused or maybe just gets on your nerves. And I want you to take a moment to send them good energy as well. Take a moment of silence for that. Take a breath in and out. I invite you to think of someone that maybe you don't know very well. Maybe someone you passed on the street or in the grocery store, someone you've seen in your life that you haven't had too many conversations with, but they've stuck with you for whatever reason. And to send them energy as well. And finally, I want you to think about yourself. It doesn't have to be anything particularly good or bad or anything at all about yourself, but simply you existing in this moment. Take a second to send good energy to yourself. Take a breath in and let it out. A breath in and let it out. One last breath in and let that out. And open your eyes.
In this faith, we engage in generosity. Our generosity connects us to one another, and we covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. We believe in equity and declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. For that reason, we covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. In January, 50% of our plate collected will be donated to Westchester Community College Emergency Aid Grant, which helps students who have sudden, unforeseen financial emergencies so that they can remain in college. The generosity we show our neighbors is an important demonstration of the work we do as Unitarian Universalists. The offering will now be received with grateful appreciation. Thank you.
Behind me, above
Our reading today comes from the book Emergent Strategy, Shaping Change, Change Worlds by Adrienne Maree Brown. Do you already know that your existence, who and how you are, is in and of itself a contribution to the people and place around you? Not after or because you do some particular thing, but simply the miracle of your life. And that the people around you and the places have contributions as well. Do you understand that your quality of life and your survival are tied to how authentic and generous the connections are between you and the people and place you live with and in? Growing up in Pittsburgh, I had a basketball hoop that sat atop the frame of my garage. And whenever I was bored or alone, which, as an only child, was often, I would go outside with my sunset-colored basketball and try to get it in the hoop as many times as I could. Now, lest you think that this has made me a good basketball player in any way, let me assure you, it has not. Still, it gave me something to do and space to think, and honestly, some real joy. I didn't have to worry about school or my parents or anything else that was bothering me. I could just be with myself and the ball. Now, over time, mostly in gym class, I learned about things like form and using my legs as a source of power and guiding the ball to the hoop. And so back home, I would excitedly grab my ball and head outside, convinced that if only I practiced enough, I could become an expert at, well, not basketball overall, but maybe free throws. And so I stood on the asphalt, squared up my shoulders, bent my knees, cradled my hands just so, and miss. All right, again. Oh, miss. All right, one more time. Oh, yes, in. Miss. In. Miss. In. Miss. Miss. Ah! Aren't I supposed to be getting better at this? Wasn't this supposed to make me better? Isn't practice supposed to make perfect? That's what we always hear, right? Practice makes perfect. And if we work hard enough at something again and again and again, we will eventually perfect the art of whatever it is that we're trying to do. And this is meant to motivate us, to encourage us, to get us to push ourselves and to keep trying, knowing that our hard work will eventually lead to success. And that's what it's about, right? Success? I mean, after all, the former tennis champion, Andre Agassi, once said, "If you don't practice, you don't deserve to win." But let me also remind you that the legendary football coach, Vince Lombardi, he has a trophy named after him, he said that practice does not make perfect. Only perfect practice makes perfect. Okay, so if we want to get better at something, not only do we need to practice, we need to be perfect in our practice, even though one can allegedly only obtain perfection by practicing, and if we're not willing to do this, then we don't deserve our success or winning or whatever it is we're working towards. Y'all, I just wanted to shoot a basketball. It can feel overwhelming, trying to do something new or trying to do something at all with those messages in our head. And maybe sports isn't your thing, but we all have things that we care about and want to work on. Maybe it's music or art. Maybe it's learning another language or learning how to cook. Maybe it's being a better friend, a better ally, a better person overall. There are so many things that we can care about deeply and honestly want to improve on. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is a very good thing. The issues come when we start feeling pressure around our practice. It so easily stops being about our initial desires and turns to an attempt to do something perfectly. Or, if not perfectly, then the right way, the best way, the way that involves zero mistakes. It's the way that has maximum impact on everybody around us, the way that involves us being the best person and being amazing and there being no possible way that we could ever screw up or ever be criticized. When that becomes our focus, oftentimes we get overwhelmed and discouraged. And when we get overwhelmed and discouraged, oftentimes, we simply quit. We may have initially cared about what we were doing, but after a while, we realize it's just too hard. And we're never going to do it right anyway, so what's the point? But we don't have to do things this way. Our practice doesn't have to be perfect. Our practice can simply be simply being. And our practice can simply be practice. What does this even mean? Well, as we heard in our reading today, author Adrienne Maree Brown asks in her book, Emergent Strategy, do you already know that your existence, who and how you are, is in and of itself a contribution to the people and place around you? Consider that for a moment. You, as you are right here, right now, are giving something to the universe and those around you simply by being you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to practice being you. You simply are. You are enough. You can choose to do things, you can choose not to do things, but neither of those changes the fact that you are making an impact. That's great news. You don't have to be perfect to be yourself. You already are yourself. You've won. You've succeeded. The miracle of your life is exactly that. Miraculous. And not only do you make an impact on the world and others around you, others make an impact on you. All of us existing amongst each other contribute to each other. And even folks we may not interact with on a regular basis can contribute to us and our lives. We are all, as individuals with various cultures, beliefs, experiences, and more, connected to each other and impacting one another in our being. This isn't really something one can practice. It's just something we do. And recognizing it as something we do allows us to appreciate it. We can appreciate our existence and the existence of others. We can appreciate that the quality of our lives is impacted by being in community with one another. And what's more, we can also appreciate that the quality of our lives is impacted by being in community with all types of people. The wider the circle gets drawn, the more we give in to how those with totally different experiences and ways of being than us influence our lives, often for the better. And as they say, knowing is half the battle. But this isn't all that Adrienne Maree Brown had to say to us. There's a paragraph following our reading that gives yet another idea around the concept of practice. She writes, "Are you actively practicing generosity and vulnerability in order to make the connections between you and others clear and open, available, durable?" Generosity here means giving of what you have without strings or expectations attached. Vulnerability means showing your needs. This is different from what we've been talking about. This isn't just existing or just being, but rather a way of being. Yes, you still impact others just by existing, but this part is asking us how we exist. And so in that sense, it is something one can practice. We can come up with an idea of how we want to exist in the world and work towards this. But it's still not the same kind of practice as mentioned earlier. Practice makes perfect means nothing here, because perfect implies there's an endpoint. If one can do something perfectly, then they can move on to the next thing, knowing that they've mastered something and they're ready for a new challenge. But generosity and vulnerability aren't things you can perfect. One doesn't work towards becoming generous and then achieve it and then move on to the next thing. And as much as we may want to, we cannot win at vulnerability. No, this time we're talking about things that one can start and then spend the rest of their lives doing. And this time, if we stop doing them, we immediately no longer have the impact that we've been hoping to have on the world or those around us. Before we continue on the idea of practicing generosity and vulnerability, let's take a second to clear up what those words actually mean. Our reading defines generosity as giving what you have without strings or expectations attached. This requires a willingness and an openness that doesn't often come natural to us. It's one thing to be willing to give your time or your money or your energy to something or to someone, but it's something else entirely to give up control when it comes to that giving. What if the thing that we want to give isn't the thing the circumstance requires? What if we invest in someone who doesn't acknowledge or express gratitude in the way that we hope they will? What if someone tells us what they want or what they need, but it doesn't make sense to us? Or worse, it's something that we don't want to give. This kind of generosity means giving up the notion that we know everything, that our desires are the most important, and instead ask us to listen to people and communities around us and give what we are able to based on what they are saying they need. What's more, it's asking us to do so without expectation of anything in return. Now, mind you, we're not talking about situations where one is being taken advantage of or harmed in some way. Rather, we're talking about a selflessness that involves listening, giving, and focusing away from ourselves and our own egos. And this is hard. And it's okay that it's hard. That's why we work on it, why we practice it. We do it over and over again because it's important to us. Will we get better at it? Hopefully. Will we mess it up sometimes? Definitely. Will we mess it up a lot? Probably. But that's okay, because we aren't practicing to make perfect. we're practicing to make different. And then there's vulnerability. This definition seems so simple on the surface. Vulnerability means showing your needs. And sometimes that's easy. When I'm hungry, I tell my wife, hey, I'm hungry. And then the two of us work together to figure out how we're going to get food. But a lot of times, this can be tricky. We all have needs, but many of us also have a desire not to feel or to be perceived as weak or needy. We may have needs, but we're strong, we're tough. We can handle them on our own. We have needs, but we can't just ask for things. We're supposed to be adults, right? We have needs, but so does everyone else. So why would we burden others with our needs? But being vulnerable, truly vulnerable, requires us being both honest and open about our needs to others. It requires us showing up in our most truthful and honest selves. And that can not only be hard, it can be scary. What if someone judges us? What if folks think our needs are silly or unreasonable? Or even worse, what if we're vulnerable and no one responds at all? Practicing vulnerability requires practicing bravery, practicing honesty, practicing trust. It's the partner to generosity, because when we're vulnerable with others, we give them the opportunity to be generous with us, and vice versa. It allows for needs to be spoken and needs to be met. That's why we work on it, why we practice it. We do it over and over again because it's necessary for our existence and well-being. Will we get better at it? Hopefully. Will we mess it up sometimes? Definitely. Will we mess it up a lot? Probably. But that's okay, because we aren't practicing to make perfect, we're practicing to make different. And these kinds of practice don't end at any set point in time. We make a choice to keep doing them, knowing that we will probably fail at them one time or another, because they bring something good to us and to those around us. Even the failing brings something good to us, for it gives us a chance to learn and to continue working, which allows for growth and even joy. Like a musician who plays their instrument every day because the simple act of making music makes their heart sing, we too keep practicing because it can make our lives and our communities sing. It's why my organization, New York Unitarian Universalist Justice, even exists. When folks in our state express their needs, we act in the name of generosity through our listening, our partnering, our actions. We don't assume we know everything that people may need, but we rather rely on our partner organizations to guide us in the ways that we might be helpful. And likewise, we must be vulnerable and honest in our work, expressing our needs and passions to each other as we consider what needs to be addressed in our communities. Are we perfect at it? No. But we keep practicing and trying because we know this work brings in people and that there is beauty and joy in being present with each other and honoring our connections. And when I say we, I don't just mean myself or our board, I mean we. For you are a part of it too. Practice didn't give me the perfect free throw shot. It didn't even give me the ability to pronounce the word free throw perfectly. But it did give me the chance to connect with the ball, with the outdoors, with my house, with myself. The journey gave me an inner clarity and joy I never would have found if I simply focused on the destination of perfection. May the things we practice in our lives help us to raise up the journeys that we are all on together. May the things we practice help us seek not perfection, but connection. And may we impact each other and allow ourselves to be impacted by others. And if we struggle or fail, may we allow ourselves to keep at it.
Will you rise in body and spirit and join me in singing about this wonderful, awkward practice that we do together? We live, we die, we dance, we sing a song. We need to feel this something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need the strength we can call our very own. For we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found our need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is the answer. A child is born among us, and we feel a special bond. We see times endless journey as we watch the baby grow. We thrill to hear imagination freely running wild. We dedicate our lives and hearts to the spirit of this child, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found our time to be together, and with the grace of age we share the wonder of youth. And we believe that growing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder, and the time is very short. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die, and when our lives are the memories we share with friends, they will linger on and on. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a place to be together. And in our life to grow, we have the gift to believe. And if together living is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our joy being together. And in our search for peace,
Friends, look around at each other. Simply by being here as yourselves amongst each other, you are making an impact. You are miraculous. And as you leave this place today, do so with that in your heart, ready to practice generosity, ready to practice vulnerability, ready to practice and fail, and practice more and fail, and to practice once again. Blessed be. Amen.
As we extinguish the flame on our chalice, we ignite it in ourselves. Our commitment to our mission and to one another is an unquenchable flame. Let us remember that we are not alone until we light this flame next time. And now I'd like to invite Neil up for our congregation.
Good morning. Thank you, Reverend Ashley. My name is Neil Markey. I am speaking with you today in my capacity as a member of this congregation and as a member of the racial justice team. I am also a member of the White Plains Greenberg branch of the NAACP. I am here to encourage you to support the NAACP in its membership drive. And I'd like to say that I did not become an NAACP member on purpose. It was an accident right here in this church. Through the CUUC, I heard that the NAACP was hosting a jazz trio concert right here in the sanctuary. And I said, oh, I like jazz, I'll come. And with the admission of the ticket, you got a membership. And I have to say that I was a little apprehensive at first about filling it out. And at that time, I was deeply saddened by the events that were happening in this country, particularly Kenneth Chamberlain in the city of White Plains, Eric Gardner in New York City, and not more than a mile from my own house, Don Roy Henry. So I filled it out. Somehow I found the courage. And shortly after that, George Floyd happened, and I was right in place to start. That really upset me. And I was right in place to start taking an active role in doing something, because I just had it. The NAACP is America's oldest, and I just want to say I am a practicing member. I've gotten better. I'm getting more involved, but I just showed up. I just show up to the general membership meetings, and I take on a little more every time, but just being there and showing up, I become, I just try. I just keep trying, and, so thank you for your sermon today. The NAACP is America's oldest and largest civil rights organization. It was formed in New York City by white and black activists, partially in response to the ongoing violence against black Americans around the country. In the NAACP's early decades, its anti-lynching campaign was central to its agenda. During the civil rights era of the 1950s and 1960s, the group won major legal victories. Unfortunately, many of the alliances that made those successes possible, including those forged between black, Jewish, progressive white Christian organizations, have weakened in the wake of policy change and white nationalist backlash that has caused the rollback of many of those legal victories. Our country is at a crossroads. Many of the rights we enjoy have been legislated away, while acts of anti-Semitism and backlash to racial progress continues to be on the rise. The NAACP remains a catalyst for the welfare of black and brown Americans, as well as a space for collaborative contributions to social and political activism. that advocates for the rights of all people. Our collective liberation depends on our capacity for developing and maintaining relationships that allow us to stand up to injustice and work together for peace. Without unity, there can be no lasting progress. Black-led organizations need the support of white allies like this congregation. In accordance with our covenant, we must work together if the beloved community is to be a reality. One of the wishes often expressed in our congregation is to connect with others in the community around social justice work. Here are statements from other CUC members who are also NAACP members. I quote, "One of the wishes often expressed in our congregation is to connect with others in the community around social justice work. NAACP is exactly one of those organizations that CUC can connect with. This membership drive offers us an opportunity to step up and follow through," unquote. Another active member shares, I quote, I have been involved in the NAACP since 2017 and am also a member of the racial justice team. This has provided me rewarding roles doing research for municipal projects in White Plains, Greenburgh, speaking before their town board on their behalf, and participating at rallies and protests. I was welcomed from day one and have gotten to know a lot of people I wouldn't have met otherwise. To get to know people who don't look like us and realize they all have the same dreams for themselves and their children, unquote. NAACP is exactly one of those organizations that CUUC can connect with. This membership drive offers us an opportunity to step up and follow through with this commitment. Annual dues are a modest $30 a year. Your membership dollars go to funding educational forums, voter registration drives, community engagement efforts, and youth leadership development. My goal is to get at least 50 of our congregation to join. I'll be at the back of the church today at a table with membership applications. Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you, Neil. And on to reminders. Here we go. We invite everyone to coffee hour after worship, then join us for the Congregational Forum in Fellowship Hall to have a conversation with Reverend Ashley to learn about what UUs are doing for justice on a statewide level. Childcare is extended today. Yay, yay. Today is the last day to sponsor a backpack for lifting up Westchester Youth Services. Hunger and Homelessness still needs funds for a few more backpacks and supplies. Please see Kathleen Kiernan in the lobby to contribute and to write a personal note to be included in the backpack. This coming Saturday morning, we will have a special day in place, poetry beside our spirit fire. Share your favorite poetry or come to listen. And in the evening, we will have our community game night. See Audra Russell, she's somewhere in here, and bring a game or play a game with others. This is an all ages event. We need coffee hour host. Okay, I'm gonna put my mom hat on here, guys. Everybody needs to sign up for at least 2 coffee hours during the year. So if you haven't, or you haven't recently, please go back to the treats table, put your name down for a coffee hour in February or March. We have no hosts signed up yet. So get on that. And if you haven't yet, pick up a copy of this year's Common Read book on repentance and repair. Look for the sales table during coffee hour or see Al Roki. Our weekly, I'm going to get it right one of these days, our weekly eCommunitarian RE newsletter, Facebook, CUC forum, and RE Google group offers details for these and more opportunities to connect and nurture this community that is so dear to us all. It has been a gift to be together with you today. Please enjoy Adam's rendition of Billie Holiday's God Bless the Child, and feel free to hum or sing along. The lyrics will be on the screen. Then spend a few minutes getting to know one another and escorting each other to coffee hour and other events, and may we all know the blessings of friendship.